For 8 years, I trusted Mark with everything. The company, the clients, the keys to the building. I just didn't trust him with the paperwork. That's what saved me. We met at a conference in 2017. I was running operations at a mid-sized agency, hating it. He was on stage, telling a room full of strangers exactly the kind of business I wanted to build. By the end of that week, we'd agreed to start one. I was the operations guy. He was the client guy. He was the face. I was the engine. That's what we always said. The company grew quietly for 3 years and loudly for 2. By the 8th year, we were turning over $1.2 million in revenue, 12 staff, a nice office on the second floor of a converted warehouse. Mark was on stages again, this time as the founder of his own thing. I was at my desk, signing leases, renewing insurance, and reading contracts. Reading contracts. Always. That part matters. I never enjoyed the admin. Mark hated it. So slowly, over years, every boring document, every lease, every IP filing, every supplier contract drifted to my desk. I signed them. I filed them. I forgot about them. He never thought about them at all. The first crack came on a Tuesday in March. A client called Pemberton Industries, one of our biggest, sent an email thread to the wrong inbox. Mine. The thread was between Mark and the head of procurement at Pemberton, and it referenced an exclusive partnership with a company I'd never heard of. Sterling Reach Consulting. The procurement lead was thanking Mark for moving their next campaign over to Sterling Reach. Quote, "Always cleaner working with you direct." I read it 3 times. I didn't move. I didn't reply. I closed the laptop and went home. That night, I learned how Companies House works. Sterling Reach Consulting Limited had been incorporated 18 months earlier. Sole director? Mark. Registered address? Not our office. A virtual mailbox in Soho. The shareholding was 100% his. 18 months. He had been moving clients to a company he owned alone for 1.5 years. Slowly, quietly, the kind of trickle that wouldn't show in any one quarter's numbers, but would show up everywhere if you mapped it across 2 years. I didn't sleep that night. By morning, I knew 2 things. I wasn't going to confront him, and I wasn't going to do anything until I understood exactly what was on paper. I started with the lease. Our office lease was in my name, personally. Mark had never signed it. I'd assumed at the time he would countersign, and never had, and never asked, because the rent always cleared from the company account. But the lease was mine. I checked the IP register. Our brand, our methodology, our software toolkit, all filed under my name as the original author, transferred into the company by an assignment deed, which I had signed, which Mark had not. I checked the email server, the domain registration, the cloud accounts, all under my name. I checked the contracts. Of our top 20 clients, 14 had been signed by me alone. 6 had a clause requiring written consent from the founders, plural, to terminate or transfer. By the end of that week, I had a contract solicitor. By the end of the month, I had a forensic accountant. By the end of 3 months, I had a binder. I didn't tell Mark. I didn't tell anyone. I came in every day. I smiled. I signed his expense claims. The accountant told me Mark was light on cash. Sterling Reach was profitable on paper, but he'd been pulling director loans to set it up. He had a personal tax bill due in 4 weeks that he wouldn't be able to clear without taking a dividend from our company. A dividend he needed me to sign off on. I didn't sign it off. I called a board meeting instead. He came in laughing, joking about the agenda. He hadn't read the binder yet, because I'd handed it to him as he sat down. The first page was a letter from my solicitor. The second page was a list of every Sterling Reach invoice he'd raised. The third page was the breakdown of who owned the lease, the IP, the brand, the email, and 70% of the contracts. The fourth page was a buyout offer. I'd had it valued. Mark's 49% of the legal entity, after the IP and the leases and the contracts I held personally were stripped out, was worth £19,000. I offered him 20. He said it was insulting. I said it was generous. He asked for time to think. I said the offer expired in 72 hours, after which my solicitor would be filing for breach of fiduciary duty and breach of the shareholders' agreement. He signed. I bought him out on a Friday. By Monday morning, he was off the bank mandate, off the email server, and off the phone tree. The team got a calm 2-paragraph email. I told them Mark had decided to pursue another opportunity and that we'd be making no further comment. I asked them to be respectful in their communications. I never told them what really happened. I never told the clients either. Sterling Reach Consulting was struck off the register 6 months later. Mark hadn't filed accounts. Pemberton came back to us within a year. Their procurement lead never mentioned the email. It's been 3 years. The company turned over $1.7 million last year. We have 19 staff. The office is the same office, on the second floor of the same converted warehouse. The lease is in my name. Still, I never changed it. Mark called once, about 18 months in, asked if I'd consider a coffee. I let it ring out. I didn't block the number. I just never picked up. He stopped trying after a while. I learned one thing from those 8 years. Partnerships are paperwork before they're handshakes. The handshake is what you remember. The paperwork is what you have. If you've been close to something like this, if you've watched it happen to someone you know, or worse, lived it yourself, you're not alone. I'll be back Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. Stay sharp.